go ahead and begin. And first thing I want to mention is, like I said, an elementalist asked me a question the other day about, what they could specialize in. And, I told him that, Abjurist is perfectly fine, and Evoker, and Conjuration. Conjurer is also great for an elementalist to specialize in. Because, you see, an elementalist is a subclass, which means that you can specialize in any of the schools if you wish. You get your subclass bonus, plus you get your specialist bonus. But if you do specialize, of course, that means that you give up one of the other schools. That's the drawback for being a specialist. If you're a specialist evoker, you give up abjuration. If you're a specialist abjurationist, you give up evoke. Does that all make sense to everybody? Okay. Good. Because, that's an important thing that, people have to keep in mind, is that when you do that, it's perfectly logical. It is perfectly logical to do that. And, has a lot of bonuses to it, or at least some, right? But you have to realize that doing so does mean you give up one of the other schools. Okay? Now, I can't really see how an elementalist could pull off specializing in necromancy because there are no elemental spells in necromancy at all. So that wouldn't make any sense, but is it possible? Yes. Is it logical? No. Conjuration would probably, or evocation, would be the best choices to go. Yes, transmutation, that would be an interesting direction to go. It's distinctly possible, any of the subclasses can specialize. Some of them are going to make more sense than others, obviously. Example, witch is a subclass, and the ones that make the most sense as a witch would be, transmutation or conjuration or even necromancy. Okay, to speak with the dead and stuff, But do realize when you specialize, you give up the opposing school, whatever that happens to be. Excuse me. So, any questions on any of that? I know that's brief and down and dirty. Hold on. I lost my chat here a second. There we go. I want this one to come up too. There we go. Okay. The drawbacks for being a subclass, there are no actual drawbacks for being a subclass. That just means that you have chosen a certain type of mage that you would like to like to slip into, witch or mystic or warlock, demonologist, elementalist. Those are, off the top of my head, those are the basic subclasses. And you may notice that I said witch and warlock are two different ones. And that's because it is. Warlock is another name for diabolist. Okay? I know that traditionally a lot of people think, a warlock is just a male witch, but if you ask any warlock, they're not going to agree with you. A warlock is a diabolist. A diabolist is someone who focuses on devils, whereas a demonologist is someone who focuses on demons. Now, you see, if they were to choose to be a specialist, most likely they would choose conjuration, right? Okay, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, because that would go on your role play, what you personally like to do. Are you the glass cannon type, or are you the pet class type? That's where it's going to change, how you like to roll. Yes, yeah, glass cannon, war mage. Actually, if you're good at abjuration, you may not necessarily be much of a glass cannon. You may just be a pounder, and then you can play yourself out that way. Yes, mage is very complicated. There are so many ways to go. That's why I'm giving you two classes about it. Well, that's because Battle Mage is a play style, okay? Battle Mage isn't a subclass. I've seen it. I've seen many Dungeon Masters over the years decide to make Battle Mage a subclass, but really, it's a play style, okay? Because that means that you are focused on evocation and abjuration. Okay? Those are your focuses. Okay? And since evocation and abjuration are opposing, that means you did not specialize in either of those, because you lose the other one. Okay? So that it can't be a specialist. Okay? Excuse me. Now, if you specialize in another field, but that still allows you to have evocation and abjuration, you can still pull off Battle Mage. Let's say you are a conjurer, okay? But you've decided to specialize in conjuration. That still allows you both evocation and abjuration. So you could be quite an effective Battle Mage. You use your conjuration to summon up shields or swords or pets, or, there's a variety of things that you could conjure. And then use your abjuration to make, mage armor or mage shield. And you use your evocation and throw fireballs. Okay? So that's yes. Doctor Strange, he does have conjuration, but he has all of the schools. So Doctor Strange is an arcanist. He's not specialized in any of the schools. He chose to be an arcanist. He is a jack of all trades, master of none. Of course, in his case, he's master of all trades. But yes, Doctor Strange is an arcanist. He's not a specialist mage. As far as wizards go in the comic book world, Zatanna would be a conjurer. Doctor Strange would be an arcanist. Dr. Fate would be he has evocation and abjuration. He would be your battle mage, so he would be an arcanist also. He is a battle mage beyond, because that's all he does. I haven't seen Dr. Fate use any other spells except combat works, shields, and blasts. Let's see here. Scarlet Witch, she's a mutant. She never had magic up until recently. The reason they called her a witch is because her mutant ability was to alter reality. But until Marvel retconned her with the TV series, she never had magic. Now she does, and so I haven't really classified her yet because for 40 years she's been a mutant with no magic, and now suddenly she has magic. I don't know. Okay, Loki. Yes, actually, Loki is an illusionist. You are correct. And do you remember, illusionist is not just bring up phantasms, because if you start getting into demi-shadow magic and then shadow magic, you can create hard light versions of things that actually basically exist. They're just made of hard light. But considering we have a concept of lightsabers from Star Wars, and Star Trek has the what's that chamber called? You go into and they makes all the people holodeck. That's right. Holodeck is a science version of hard light magic. Okay? So just because someone's an illusionist, do not discount them. Do not say, oh, you're just a fairy. You throw up, lights and you make yourself look different and all that jazz. Hey, give them some credit because if they choose to go into demi-shadow magic or shadow magic, that sword that they have summoned up or that spear they've summoned up to throw at you, that's not just in your head that you think you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. Okay? And no, actually, singing your praises a little bit, Junie. You didn't catch that. Is because Fae have an affinity already for illusion magic. They already have light manipulation. So a Fae that chooses to be an illusionist is going to be the bomb. Okay? Really. Because they already have an affinity for it. Okay? So if they decide to throw some spears at you, you better duck. those aren't in your head. Okay? They're gonna smack you. So, hey, if you can stand there and get pelted by 15 spears and still walk, more power to you. But for me, I think I'd be putting up a shield. Okay. Illusions are very short. Okay? That's the thing about illusion magic. The drawback of illusion magic is they don't last very long. They last basically 10 minutes per level. Okay? So they will fade. But, good chances whoever you were fighting against is already hacked to pieces before your illusion disappeared. Well, you could live in an illusionary house, but but not very long. But do you remember there's a spell called permanency? All right. Now you do not get permanency spell until you are arc level. You're a guild leader. Guild leads can have permanency spell. All right. And that means that if they cast
charging battery
permanency on their illusionary house, it stays there. Okay? And that's kind of cool. But that permanency spell makes it basically so that if you cast onto, you're enchanting something with permanency spell, it gives it the enchantment level. Okay, it's as though it was an enchantment. Does that make sense to you? Yes. An archmage can cast that on other people's stuff too. They don't only have they can cast it on other people's stuff too. Okay? And guild lead arc level. I mean, not just an archmage, but your guild leader, okay, gets permanency. But can they do it for other people? Yeah, they can. Okay? And it makes it so that whatever thing that they're casting permanency on goes into the enchantment time span. Okay? When I'm not sure how you guys have it set up for where you learn, what levels you learn at anything. all the things. Okay. Um, it it is 10 minutes per level, but you know, however you do it, because a a zero level fairy, because they have an affinity for it, already have illusions. Okay, and they go into mage school to make those illusions, to learn more how to cast their stuff, but their levels still have it. Okay, as soon as whether they're first level wizard or what have you. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, that's right. There are illusion cantrips too. Okay, so everybody understand what I'm talking about so far? All right, cool. Any questions beyond what I have already answered? Okay, I must have missed it. If I didn't answer it, what was the question? Doom, doom. Yes, there is a spell for that. Okay, there is a spell for that. Let me think. What's the name of that spell? Magic Mouth? Yes, Magic Mouth. If you cast Magic Mouth onto a thing, Magic Mouth is a time delay spell. It basically sets it up so that it activates. Okay, it activates something else. So you set your magic mouth up onto a wall. Okay, and you tell the magic mouth, you know, remain dormant until Billy Bob walks down this hallway, and then hit him with a fireball. So, you cast fireball into the magic mouth, okay, and don't you withhold the last word, all right, but you teach the magic mouth the last word, so that when Billy Bob walks down the hallway, Magic Mouth screams the last word and shoots Billy Bob with a fireball. Does that all make sense? Okay. Yeah, the black powder, that's a goblin thing. He is right about that. We do have it, but it will blow up. You have maximum of 3 shots with anything like that. So yes, Magic Mouth is awesome. It's one of my very favorite spells ever. because it's so useful. Okay? It is it's one of my two favorite spells. Obviously, the other one is Sepia Snake Sigil. And I do have a little tiny bit of experience using those spells over the years. And I have developed a level of creativity with them. So that is my favorite use for Magic Mouth. It allows you to set a time delay on something, on a spell, on, for your wall, or makes your own traps, etc., etc. Magic Mouth is a wonderful spell. Doon, 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 doon. Okay. Now, Magic Mouth is an enchantment spell. So it goes along the enchantment time span. Okay? As opposed to a ward, which there are a variety of wards that have nice reactions. Okay? But with Magic Mouth, then you get to basically ward an object, or wall or whatever, sort of, kinda. But you're using the enchantment time frame. Okay? Do you see how that works? It's kind of cool, eh? Because there's a difference between enchantment time frames and ward time frames. Doon, 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 doon. Did that help? Did that answer your questions? Okay. Yes. There are definitely advantages. An enchanter is going to cast enchantment spells at a level higher than an arcanist, okay, or any other version. An abjurist is going to do the same. So essentially, what that really means is to become, if you choose to specialize, you cast your school one level higher than you actually are. But to do so means you give up another school. So, it's a trade-off. Magic Mouth is an enchantment spell. Now, because not all Magic Mouths are actually visual. See, that's the thing. And you may run across some versions of the books that have it listed as illusion, but that's because there have been a variety of dungeon masters over the years that have thought, hey, you know what? Doesn't Magic Mouth make a mouth that talks and says, hey, how you doing? Well, that's not how it was designed, but, a lot of DMs have used it that way. And so it has morphed in some versions to become an actual mouth, but it wasn't designed that way. It was designed as a it was designed as a trigger puller. Does that make sense? Yes, there have been many people who said, hey, you know what, the ones in Labyrinth, that's a magic mouth. Well, no, those were actually magic items. You know? I don't know. To some people, it might change things, but that's, you know, I've been around for a while, and Magic Mouth has always been that way from in my games. The fact that I don't usually talk about specific spells here is because I do not want my opinions to overshadow everyone else's. You do you. But you know, if you want to, when you ask a question that has similar type of answer, that then I'm going to give it to you. You know. Okay. Any other questions about anything we've talked about so far? Doom, 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 doom. Thank you for asking the question, Jilamutslo. When you hit third level, and you become full mage, that is when you declare your specialization if you choose, or your subclass if you choose to do so. Now, there are schools where you can subclass at level 1, okay? It is not illegal, okay? There have been witches schools, for example. I know that we've had a witch school teacher, one in Rue and one in Silvara, and so a subclass can start out already as a witch, etc. Okay. Yes, and just because you generalize does not mean you are lesser. We just talked about Doctor Strange and Dr. Fate earlier. They are both generalists, but they kick major tail because they have mastered what they do. Okay. I hope that all makes sense. You don't have to specialize to be Billy Bad. You can be an Arcanist and be Billy Bad. They are still considered an Arcanist. Okay. If you're an Elementalist that never specializes, technically, yeah, when you are that you can be considered such. Yes, and Jilla Moonsnow just said, having access to everything is is a pretty good perk. So you already have that. Because if you specialize, you lose one. Okay? If you specialize, you lose one. Excuse me. Yep. That is something that you're pretty much going to have to figure out. I give you all kinds of information, and what you do with it is what you do with it. And you already know a lot of weaknesses that mages have, and rogues tend to exploit those. Yeah. Let's see about that, right? So, yes, Jilla Roxley, you are correct. A Fae is already has an affinity to illusion magic, so they're already going to be a little bit better at illusion magic than any other arcanist because it's innate to them. Okay? Just like a dragon is already innately better at evocation. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Your question about elementals. Well, since Elementalist is a subclass, okay, and elemental spells can either be evocation, abjuration, or conjuration, then it would be difficult to make a Fae automatically better in every school except necromancy and divination. So I'm gonna have to stay with they're better at the illusion. Okay, now they're going to have a better chance of talking to an elemental. Okay, they're going to get a charisma roll, for lack of a better word, when interacting with elementals of their affinity. Okay, but that doesn't translate to any certain school. Okay. That is correct. A demonologist has when it comes to demon summoning, they are one level higher than themselves, because that is their, if they specialize in conjuration. Otherwise, they are going to have the charisma roll, just like we talked about with the Fae. Thank you for bringing that up, Master Prince of All. There are several spells that can be cast from more than one school. Someone asked me about Magic Mouth earlier. That about it being an illusion spell. Well, there is a version, because so many people, made the comment in the Dungeon Masters in the past. There is an illusionist Magic Mouth, and there was an enchantment Magic Mouth, and fear is another thing. There's a necromancy spell for fear and an enchantment spell for fear. Okay? There's also an illusionist spell for fear. Okay? Some spells, there are multiple schools that can do it. It's just they do it differently. Okay? They do it differently. And that is one of the reasons why why opposing schools, if you specialize, you can't do your opposing school, because the spells are cast differently. Example, okay, your fire shield, okay? An evoker can cast a fire shield because they evoke flame, okay? And it creates this wall of flame that they wear on their wall, on their arm. An abjurist can cast fire shield, and they create a shield made of fire that they can carry on their wall. They're doing the same thing, okay? But how it comes about, how they do it, is entirely different, okay? Yes, my apologies. If you had a question, yeah, just definitely write it out. Because if I miss it, then you can copy paste it again. It's much easier. I try to call on people, but sometimes I don't catch everything. And yes, Jalamunsno, elves they have an affinity towards enchantment. All elves across the board, whether you're a dark elf or you're a star elf or a moon elf, enchantment is, you have an affinity towards that. Okay, mystic. All right, best way that I can describe mystic. Have you ever seen David Carradine's Kung Fu? It's you for all you youngins, younglings in the class. You may have never ever seen it. Okay, but if you're interested in mystic, then I would recommend catching some Kung Fu episodes. Okay, basically, what it boils down to is they channel the mana from the world and they suck it into their body, and that allows them to heal themselves. It allows them to make Kai punches. You know, they focus the Kai or the Chi, depending on how you want, what word you want to use, and have it do something internal for them, heal themselves, or punch through a wall. Okay, and even heal other people. You can touch someone else and heal them. Okay, with that energy. Mystic is a subclass. Okay? Mystic is a subclass of mage. They are mages, but they are using their body to do everything. Okay? But they're a type of wizard. Okay? But they're using their Kai energy focused internally. Okay? And generates it outward, like spell swords, arcane, which spell sword is an arcane warrior. It's like that, except for instead of focusing their mana through a sword or a bow, they're focusing it inside of their body. Okay? So they turn their fist into a weapon, but it also allows them to heal themselves because they're absorbing the mana into them. Okay? Allows them to heal. Now the hybrids, the arcane warriors are a hybrid. They're a hybrid of mystic and warrior. Okay? A mystic is a thaumaturge that uses their body as the focus. Yes, there are a few magic swords that are spells. Okay, they're just spells. Yes. A mystic is a martial artist, okay? A mystic is a martial artist that is magic, okay? So that is the best way to put it, okay? If you like, David Carradine, if you like Jackie Chan, if you like... and Jackie Chan's a little bit more comedian, but, you get the point, okay? Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is a good example. The samurai, okay, is... They use that as a weapon. Yeah, 2 eyes in our samurai. Because what they have done, they've taken that mystic ability and they've channeled it. They're weaponized mystics. Okay, that's why samurai can't heal themselves, but they can throw a fireball from their fist. Well, they can't throw it. Their fist can become a fireball. Bam! Or their fist can become become rock. Okay? Does that make sense? Whereas we don't have what D&D has monks. That's our mystic. Okay? A monk is a 0 level priest of all the different types. Okay? Monk is 0 level priest. If you like Monk from Dungeons and Dragons, then you should play Mystic, because Mystic is our monk. That's right, Finger of Death. That is correct. That is a mystic. That's a mystic item. Okay? Samurai also, because samurai is a weaponized mystic. Okay? They have turned their body into a weapon. Whereas a mystic is more into self-reflection, and they can kick tail, but they don't do it on. They don't go out to do it on purpose. They're more of a defensive type, So, they're the ones. They're the advisors. They help. Whoever's in charge. Okay. Whereas a samurai is a weaponized version. So they're going to go out there. They're going to be the ones doing the touch of death. Okay. Or Iron Fist. He's a good example. And have any of you seen the Avatar cartoon? Not Avatar the Last Airbender? That's samurai. Okay? That is samurai. Okay? Whereas a mystic, they are pulling all that inside themselves. Okay. Beldos for your attendance, your little sharp claws. My apologies that my classes always take so long. But, it's a thing. Because, if we're doing it right, that means people have questions. And if people have questions, then they need answers. And that's what I'm here for. Well, a mystic doesn't have to be a pacifist, but they don't go out of their way to get into fights. But if it comes to them, they're going to pound you upside the head. Okay? Yeah. Are you referring to Mandarin? Archmage Devere? Yes. Now those are all magic items, but that would be more of a that would ostensibly be like mystic or samurai. Okay? I am very familiar with the Mandarin, but I have not seen that movie. Okay? Because originally Mandarin was Iron Man's enemy, or actually that's who he is. He's Iron Man's arch enemy. Is Billy bad enough to fight Iron Man? But they retconned for that movie and made Shang-Chi, who is a mystic, and they have given Shang-Chi the 10 rings for Mandarin. And so that totally retcons the whole 9 yards. I have not seen it, but I know it's going to be nothing like the comic books. But Shang-Chi was never that popular of a superhero, and most people don't even know who Mandarin even is. And then the Iron Man movie, I think it was the second one, maybe a third, made Mandarin into a joke. So they decided to, let's fix all that, and made this new one retconning the concept. Anyway, my apologies. Mystic doesn't have to be a pacifist, but they don't generally seek out combat. Okay, it doesn't mean they will not go to battles. Yes, they are defenders, whereas a samurai is an attacker. Okay, they have weaponized themselves. Okay, samurai cannot heal themselves. Mystic can. Everything is in the subject. Spider climb. Okay. There is obviously is an enchantment spell. You're correct. But there are other ways to cast that, but it's normal. Normally it would be an enchanter spell. Yes, enchantment. Mystic is a subclass, so they can start out as a mystic, okay? But they will definitely have to take Nif's thaumaturge class because they are a thaumaturgist, And Jilomali, alteration is also spider climb. Remember what we were talking about earlier? That there are a variety of spells that can be from more than one school. Spider climb could be either alteration or enchantment. Okay? Yes, the thing about a mystic is you're going to have to take thaumaturgy and go to mage school. That's how some of that rolls. Because if you're a thaumaturgist, you really need to know how thaumaturgy works. And that's whether you're a mystic, a samurai, an arcane warrior, arcane archer, or arcane ranger, or spell sword. You're still going to need to know it. Okay? Yep, actually, Archmage DeVere hit another one. Transmutation also could be spider climb. Balados for your attendance. Jalil and Jaluk Stormcloud. Windows for now. I'm I'm glad lots of questions are coming out, because when you have questions and don't ask them, they never get answered. It's like that. Oh, I didn't see them both, so thank you. Okay, so Jaluk and Jaluk. Yes. No worries. I hope that I've been answering your questions sufficiently. Okay, let's see here. Oh, that brings up we're talking about that. There is there's a rogue subclass that is a hybrid that also falls in that category. Yes, Jillamunso is correct. In order to know thine enemy, so that's why Trin hits all the classes for. And hey, that's a good thing, you know? That's what shoot. So I would do it too, you know? If you know the things about people, it gives you a better chance to do something about it. Okay. Samurai has two eyes in our world, and yes, women can be samurai. And I have no issues whatsoever if people choosing an Eastern flavor, but our samurai have two eyes because they're basically fighter mages, for lack of a better word. Okay? And that's right. You know, typically, you know, many weapons, elven weapons, have Eastern flavor anyway, because elves tend to favor sabers. Yes. And all the screaming, you can tell all those people who want to scream, come talk to me. I am totally okay with that. Anyone who wants to scream, they get to come talk to me. And I will set them straight. That's how it is. Samurai is an arcane warrior, so you can do both. Okay? I mean, you can learn spell sword, you can learn arcane archer, you can learn arcane ranger through NIF. And samurai is you know, that the key element there is that it's not that she's wrong. Okay, Maeve is great, you know, but she adds an Eastern flavor to it, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, in her training, and that's perfectly fine. What NIF does is the meat and potatoes of it. Okay? He gives you the substance. Okay? Artificer is an entirely different animal. It's art, because yes, of course, then you're going off in another direction there. Speak of the devil, Jalil McTavish, have a seat. We were just talking about samurai because mystic was brought up. Okay? Now, who, my apologies, I don't want to scroll back here. Who was it that was asking, had a lot of questions about mystic? Yes. So Sig, all of you that have questions, keep throwing them. And if we need to roll this, keep talking about in the direction of the artificing, we can go that too. You know? I'm totally fine with that. But yes, a weaponized mystic is a samurai. Okay? And in the case of the other ones, and in the case of the spell sword and the arcane ranger and the arcane archer, they focus their art through their weapon. Okay? Balados for your tennis, Jill Ansley. But that's with one eye, Jill Glory. Okay? With us, it's two eyes. Okay? Samurai is spelt with two eyes at the end. Okay? And it is a weaponized mystic. Yes, that's right. Our samurai is not a pirate. They have both eyes. That was funny. And they don't have a peg leg either. Okay. And not that they couldn't be a pirate. Because that's a personal choice. It's not a class. That would be funny. More than likely they'd probably be more of a samurai. Although I'm a samurai pirate, because mystics don't tend to seek out conflict. They resolve them, but they don't tend to seek them out. That's why I mentioned Kung Fu earlier. Okay? And I know that there's a lot of younglings that have never seen Kung Fu. But one of the key elements with Kung Fu and with a mystic is that they tend to be non-confrontational, but they are quite adept at confrontation. They just tend to not do it on purpose. Whereas the samurai, they're weaponized and they go out of their way to take care of business. A mystic, yeah, only when needed. That's good. A mystic takes care of business when they have to. They go about their thing. They live their lives. They do their things. But if you start messing up, then they might slap you upside the head. A samurai, on the other hand, they're more inclined to just smack you upside the head regardless. Okay? That's why I mentioned earlier, if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon, then that works for samurai. They rebooted the Kung Fu TV show. Yeah. Samurai, a rogue samurai, would be Yakuza. Yeah, the Avatar Last Airbender cartoons have nothing to do with the movie that I know of. I'll have to look at it and see if the Kung Fu reboot is any good. You know? It could be. I don't know. I'll have to look. I'm definitely interested. Okay? Especially if David Carradine's on it at all. Because he's cool. Yeah, I did know he passed away, but so this is yeah, I may have to talk to him. If he's passed away, hey, he falls into my realms. So I'll have to give him a call, see what he's been up to. That'd be alright. And see if he had anything to do with his reboot. Okay, Kung Fu, the legend continues. Somebody linked it to me. Malachite, thank you. Alright, let's see here. It's set in the present adaptation of the 70s series. Features a predominantly Asian American cast, including Mai, and it was renewed for a second season, so it must have been okay. And it looks like the main character is a woman. I'm definitely interested in watching this. It's a reimagining, rather a reboot. So it is since it's, because one of the reasons I brought up the original Kung Fu is because it's set in the Old West, okay? And so it's in it's done in the 70s, but it's set in the Old West. So it's during a time where, there's a lot of, what's the best way to put it? Inherent violence, okay? And he's walking around in this world that is in the Wild West, walking around this world that's in conflict, and he is completely not. And so it's really good, okay? dislike the Picard, you know, at all. I love Picard, and I love Seven of Nine, and she was in the second season, so shoot, you win already. You have Picard in Seven of Nine, dude. You didn't need to do anything. They could have just sat there and played cards or checkers for the whole season, and I still would have liked it. That she was the only part of Voyager and that was any good. The rest of Voyager was not cool. But 7 of 9 was awesome. So you got 7 of 9 over with Picard, dude. Yeah, she was okay, but she was not particularly awesome. Okay, 7 of 9 moved over to Next Gen. Shoot, you win already. Anyway. So they made the 80s version. Yeah, I think I saw the 80s version of Kung Fu also. Okay, and that was set in a more modern times, but the original one was set in Wild West. Okay. Okay, how does Arcane Ranger differ from Arcane Archer? Okay. Arcane Ranger also they also have Conjuration. Arcane Ranger does all the same things a Ranger does, except magically. Okay? Whereas an Arcane Archer is a magical... What's the way to put it? Arcane Archer does more things like throw lightning bolts from their bow. They shoot lightning bolts, ice bolts, and fireballs from their bow. Okay, they focus evocation mostly through their bow, whereas an Arcane Ranger is like any other Ranger, except they do everything magically. Okay, pass without trace. Call companion. So Arcane Archer and Arcane Ranger are very, very different than each other. The only thing the same is they both use bows and they both have arcane in their name. Yes, Arcane Ranger still does evocation arrows, but it's much more on a minor scale. Whereas the Arcane Archer, that is their focus. Okay. So Fire Arrow, for example, still exists for Arcane Ranger, but for an Arcane Archer, that fire arrow will be more like a fireball. Okay? Boom! Instead of pew! You see the difference? Hope that makes sense. And Jalil Bellman, they all know, everybody knows that you are the Shogun of the Samurai. With 2 eyes, because you're not pirates. Everybody already knows that. Conjuration is not a thing for Arcane Archers. Or spell swords, or samurai. conjuration really isn't in their toolbox. However, Arcane Ranger does it. They do have that. You know, Arcane Ranger can summon their companion. Arcane Ranger, yeah, they should take conjuration class. You know, it would be helpful. Otherwise, I mean, they don't have to. They could get their companion the same way a regular ranger can. But if they do take it, then they have a higher chance of getting a magical version. Like a firewolf, for example. A regular ranger is not going to get a firewolf unless they go to the elemental plane of fire and do it. An arcane ranger, they could get a firewolf, and they don't have to go to the elemental plane of fire to get that firewolf. It could just it could show up here because they have conjuration. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes, they can do other conjuration things too. Example, an arcane ranger, they may have no arrows. If they run out of arrows, they can conjure more arrows. A regular ranger can't do that. They have to have arrows. An arcane ranger can summon arrows. Yes, of course they could ask the mage to summon for them. But an arcane ranger, if that's in their wheelhouse. Oh, can everybody still hear me? That's right. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why it would be staticky. I know that part, when I touch it, it's staticky. I'm sorry about that. When I touched that, it really got staticky. But did that make it better? After it stopped the storm? Okay. Alright. Okay. So what I did is I fiddled with the connection. So it's the connection. Okay. So did that answer your question about Arcane Rangers? Arcane Ranger, everything that a ranger can do, they can do the same, except they can do it with magic. Okay? Summon arrows. No, they don't do the summon. No, not really. That's not a thing. They could summon, they could feasibly summon dummies, okay, but they'd probably be made out of straw and have red and white circles painted on their front, but it's unlikely that they could actually summon a being. It's not really a thing, you know. Does that all make sense? Basically, you know, an arcane ranger is the same as a regular ranger, except they do it with magic. You know? If you remember all those signs, people used to have the signs, you know, on bumper stickers and stuff and say, plumbers lay more pipes. Well, this one would be arcane rangers do it with magic. No, arcane archer and arcane ranger are not the same thing. That's what we were just talking about, Jill Scribe. Arcane archer is a thaumaturge that casts through their bow. They throw things like lightning bolts and fireballs through their bow. An arcane ranger is a ranger that does it with magic. Okay? So they are very different. Arcane archer and arcane ranger are very different than each other. They both have arcane in their name, and they both use bows, and they both use thaumaturgy. But beyond that, everything else is different. And yes, thank you for bringing that up, Jill Moonsnow. An arcane ranger, they draw their power, their magic is divine. Okay? Their magic, an arcane ranger's magic is divine, whereas an arcane archer are thaumaturges. Okay? And for those of you that don't know, divine casters are usually fall into priests. Correct. Arcane rangers are not using personal mana, not like, as opposed to arcane archers who are. Arcane rangers are using divine magic. They're using nature's. Nature is giving them powers. So it's more like, they're more like druids. They're more like druid rangers. My apologies. They don't they don't need to take your thaumaturgy classes because you are, you're teaching and great in that. I could totally see them going to divine school, saying, "Hey, you know what? You guys all need to go over and enroll to the healer school." Because they're casting like druids. You were correct. Arcane archers and arcane rangers are very different to one another. The similarities is that they both have arcane in the name, and they both use bows. Well, let me tell you, nature doesn't have an opinion on what is unfavorable unless you're destroying nature and then it's unfavorable. But other than that, nature is lawful neutral. No, it wasn't a retcon for the White Rangers at all. And it's just the fact that I decided, okay, regular Rangers were designed as warrior rogues, and then I said, I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? That doesn't really fit in with elves. Elves are naturally magical. So let's add another class, Arcane Ranger. And for all of the people who have already been Rangers, and I just allowed those that wished to grandfather in, because it isn't out of the realm of possibility for them to already have that in their heads. So that is what I did. An Arcane Ranger is basically a druid warrior instead of a rogue warrior like regular ranger. Makes sense. I get that. My apologies for not being very clear. Yes, Arcane Rangers use magic like druids. Arcane Archers throw fireballs and lightning bolts. Arcane Archers are thaumaturges. Arcane Rangers. That is why Warden is the natural prestige class for an Arcane Ranger to roll into. Yes, that's correct. Master Princess of all that is correct. Arcane Ranger is a warrior druid. They use a longbow and do rangery things with nature, with nature magic. Warden is the perfect prestige class to go from Arcane Ranger. They draw magic from the weave, not exactly, because they use divine magic, not arcane. Okay? That's correct. Arcane Archers do thaumaturgy type things. They use a normal bow, but they can do they can throw things like fireballs. Arcane Ranger cannot do that. Arcane Archer can throw a lightning bolt. Arcane Ranger cannot do that. Druids draw magic from the elements. That's correct. That is correct. I would have to look at the list. We do have a list of all of the people in the prestige classes. The Paragon. The Paragon Warden. Right. Arcane Rangers get their power like druids do. Oh, that's not the same thing. That's just a title. Because Warden is a paragon. Warden is a paragon class. Yeah, Arcane Ranger should attend Druid classes. That would be a good idea. Mid, yeah, that's neither. They are both wardens, but neither of them are active right now. As far as Arcane Rangers going to Druid classes, I would take as many as you can. I would just, because, consider yourself going through Druid school. They can't heal unless they are the Ranger medics. But if you have an Arcane Ranger medic, they should take the healing classes too. Yeah, and they can't shapeshift either. So I guess there's a couple that you might need to be able to skip. But knowledge is power, So if it doesn't hurt to take them. Because Trinity is going to be without him anyway, because she's trying to learn how to kill everybody. Yes, Master Printed of all. You do if you're a Magister Apprentice. And if you want to learn how each class works, yes. And if you're going to be a part of that class, then yes, you should. Okay. As a Magister Apprentice, then it's important to. You don't actually have to go to every single class as long as you learn the stuff. But if that's what you want to do, more power to you. Yeah, that is correct. Master Apprentice of all is all true that what you're saying. I think what she's saying, she's attending the classes because repetition is important. For some people, they need to hear it 3 or 4 times before it sinks in. And if you take as many classes as you can, maybe eventually it will sink in. It's all good. Nothing wrong with it. Okay. Questions change every single class. That's why I love questions, because I'm not perfect, so I don't remember to tell you every single thing. So when you ask me questions, it gives me the opportunity to tell you something that I didn't know that I needed to tell you, or that it didn't occur to me that I didn't need to tell you. Okay. With that said, are there any more questions? I know I've kept you guys a million years, so I'll be closing this here in short order. Okay. Divination. Okay. Speaking with dead is basically necromancy. But there is a divination spell where that basically does the same thing. Okay? And yes, shamans can do that too. Shamans do necromancy. They just do it differently. Shamans don't generally mess with the physical ones. They mess with the immaterial. Yes, there is divine necromancy. Necromancy is not only arcane, there is also divine. Cora is in this room, and all her spells are divine because she's a priest, and she has necromancy. And all shamans have necromancy. Different sides of the coin is a good way to put it. Because there is divine magic and there is arcane magic. But a lot of the stuff crosses the borders. It's just that they're done from entirely different sources. The source is the key element there. Bards are jack of all trades. They use divine and arcane, just like a sage. Okay? Sage uses both also. Most of the time people have to choose between divine or arcane. But bards do both, as do sages. A sage is a cleric mage. Yes. Aside from the person named Sage, yes. A sage is a cleric mage. It is a paragon. I think we only have 2 sages in the GA. Yes. Lynn is sage now too. Yeah. I'm not sure Echo is a sage, but Lynn is a sage. I know. And so is Sia. Echo is a magister. Yes, shaman mage is a sage. You know? Yeah, I would actually have to hear back from Lynn about that one, and I don't remember it being voted on in the conclave. I would say yeah. I would give my okay. It has my stamp if he does choose to do that. You know. You would make a good Black Magister, Archmage Devere. Echo holds that position currently, however. Yes, Paragon is multi-classing. Okay? Paragon is multi-classing. But you have to have gone through level 3 in one class to go into and take your other class. And then once you get to level 3 in the second class, then you can grab your Paragon class, and then you start learning that. So it's basically 4 classes, sort of. Yes, you're right, Salich was also a sage. Necromancer, priest. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure of that one, but I know that Salich was necromancer priest. You don't have to hit 4, you have to get through 3. You don't actually have to hit 4. You get through 3, take the test for 4, but don't go 4. You don't have to go 4. Okay? Yes, I know. With with the new leveling thing, because the meter change, the numerical values alter. But my brain is still the other way until I put V8 out. You know? Yes, Salich was also a lich. Mage banishing. Okay, hold on. Okay. Yes. That is necromancy. You are correct. But there is also abjuration. It is both. It just depends on which direction you go with it. You can use abjuration to banish. You can use conjuration to banish. Okay? But necromancy is also used for that. But I know that's not exactly the question you're asked. Yes. 8 and 9 are not going to be the same thing. Okay, yeah, basically. If you get, alright, full mage, or you get all the way through level 3, alright, and then you decide to take rogue because you want to go mage hunter. So then you get all the way through level 3 rogue, and now you've gone all the way through level 3 mage, but didn't take and took the taste for 4, but didn't become it. And then you've gone all the way through level 3 rogue, took the test to go level 4, but didn't become it. And then you decided to go Paragon. You can do that. Okay? Okay? You just for clarification, you can go to level 4. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to not take it. Okay? You can take 4. You can take 5. Okay? But you have to have gone through level 3 and taken the test. You can take 4. You can take 5. But even if you don't take 4, you can work on your other one. You have to have at least went through level 3 and taken the test. if you get if you decide to be level 4, hey, more power to you. That's cool. Okay? If you decide to take level 5, more power to you. That's cool. But you have to have at least gone through level 3 and taken the test. Okay? Does that help? Yes. Jalil or Jaluk, I don't see you, Sidra, so I apologize. That is correct. It is different, but you can accomplish the same thing with it. Okay? That is... Okay. Okay? So, as far as the meter goes, that's your basic information here. Okay? We're still working out the bugs on that a little bit. Okay? But I do want to let you all know that what you have worked on, you're not going to lose. Okay? So if you are level 5 currently, okay, when you when you make the Maxim switch, we're not going to take anything away from you. Okay? That is excellent right there, what he just said. That's well put. We're not going to take it away from you. Okay? What you have earned, you're still going to have. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And she was right. Yeah. As far as the Paragons go, okay, it's okay, all right? Just hang on to that information because it's important, okay? But as far as the yeah, because there are other people. As far as the Paragons go, okay, I realize that numerical value have not been set in stone, but what that basically says is that you need to have gone through 8, but not become a teacher. Okay? Under that. Okay? You don't have to become a teacher. You've gone through you've done all your work. You are your class, and under the Maxim it would be 8. Under the current setup, it would be 3. Does that make sense? As far as Paragon goes. Doom, 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 doom. Okay. Last round of questions, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut us down. I've kept you off for 2 hours. My apologies. But, hey, hopefully I'm getting your questions answered. Last round of questions. Well, I'm glad, because as long as you're asking questions and getting answers, we're golden, And when there are new questions get raised, you can ask them too. Okay? And that's a good thing. Does everybody understand everything we've talked about? Does everyone understand everything we've talked about? Okay. Faraldur, Joel Eon. Unfortunately, I don't always remember to tell everyone everything. That's why I do these classes, so that you can ask questions. So that's good. I'm glad it was asked. Faraldur, Jalil. Okay. Any more questions before I close this out? Nothing? All good? Okay. Hi. Jaluk Starbinder, I hope you were here in time, because in the beginning I talked about the Elementalists. So hopefully you were here for that. If not, a lot of people in here were, and they can clue you. If you have a question, now's the time. Okay. Doom, 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 doom. Basically, I relayed that Elementalist is a subclass. You can specialize within that, whether you're evocation, abjuration, conjuration, but it is a subclass. Okay? Okay. Nothing? Okay. Then I am going to go ahead and close this out. Balados for your attendance today. If any other questions do come forth, then get with your guild lead or a conclave member, and they will get the question to me, and I will square you away. Okay? Balados for your attendance. Vindos for now.